right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is Destroy All Humans. Specifically, Destroy All Humans 2020. Okay, so time for a bit of a rant. Please don't fucking name your remakes exactly after the original game. Because, you know, the original game still exists even when you do a remake. Or you do a new game that has the old title, or whatever the fuck you're pulling.
I think you can actually
But
still
Adam,
buy the
if we
original.
don't, but Adam, if we don't do that, how will they be able to tell that we're completely reinventing the concept of the franchise from the bottom up and making it a whole new concept that completely makes the old one unnecessary?
Go
It
look, so
worked
you drunk?
perfectly for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Never use that voice again.
Yeah, please.
Well, that Tommy was so. He was imitating.
I don't know. It was just a generic nerdlinger voice.
Yeah.
The point of it was to be as obnoxious as possible, though.
Mm-hmm.
Mission accomplished there. 10 points. Anyway. Well, I see we're off to a start of sorts. So, Destroy All Humans. In this case, it is a remake. It's not a new game that is attempting to reboot the franchise or anything of that. This is actually an actual remake. Another product from the 8chan loving folks at THQ Nordic. No, I haven't forgotten about that, nor should you.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but the last one of these we reviewed, the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That was actually that was a weird half step where it was using a modern engine, but it still had a lot of bits from 2003. Once again, I keep going back to that physics model. Destroy All Humans here is, I would say, one of the most extensive remakes we've showcased on the program. Probably the only other game that comes to mind is that adventure game Galax reviewed, maybe at the beginning of the year, Raven.
The Raven, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a full-on remake. It's got the modern Unreal graphics engine. It's got a modern physics engine. It knows what momentum is. Maybe it knows momentum a little too much at times. I won't lie. Sometimes the physics got a bit wonky. But yeah, this is definitely, in terms of its technology, probably the most modern THQ Nordic remake or remastered to date. It definitely looks modern. Not just an engine overhaul and the lighting, but Crypto looks very detailed, right down to his unsettling neck hole apparatuses. I really don't know what the fuck those things are. But this game looks pretty impressive for a mid-range remake. Maybe not it's not maybe reaching Final Fantasy VII remake levels of fidelity, but definitely a cut above what THQ Nordic usually produces. And now, if you're not familiar with the Destroy All Humans franchise, it's I hesitate to use the word open world with the first Destroy All Humans game, because at best it's quasi open world, like in that it's kind of got open world levels, but it's definitely level based. And the levels that, like, in terms of open world, even for like PlayStation 2 open world games, this would be considered pretty small. But really, the open world environment isn't the point of the game. As this is a lot more narrative heavy than what you would get out of an open world game from the PlayStation 2 era as well. That's also reflected in the levels themselves. As you'd expect, you can revisit levels after you're done with the main mission, but they're pretty empty, at least until you upgrade enough to unlock various side missions like rampage and abduction and what have you. But that actually takes a bit of time until you like. I believe it's based on the stuff you unlock. I'm not sure if that like based on. I think that's mission progression. Wasn't exactly sure, 100% sure on that. But the point of the matter is, honestly, like in terms of an open world game, this doesn't impress. I don't think I would have been impressed with the PlayStation 2 incarnation of this game. And if anything, this is where the game has aged about, maybe not the most, but its level design is definitely of 15 years ago. Like I imagine if they were actually doing a full-on reboot of Destroy All Humans, they would be making this a lot more connected. Although that once again, another reason why that doesn't work is because narratively, all these missions are taking place in different cities. It's like you've got places like Rockwell, which is a Midwestern town. Also, it's named after Norman Rockwell. You got San Modista, which is California. Uniontown, like Turnip Seed Farms, a farm place because aliens. And you got Capital City, which is Washington D.C. I'm like, and also, and in terms of pop culture, this is an interesting beast, because a lot of it is a parody of 1950s culture, not just like 1950s pop culture, but a lot of 1950s politics. But not everything is 1950s. For example, Crypto, the guy you play, he's not based off of any iconography from the 1950s. No, in case you're not up on like UFOology, and yes, that is an actual thing. But the Greys, this is actually from a much later. This is from like 1980s, 1990s UFO pop culture than the 50s. Like, it even comes up with in the game. Like, when they talk, like when the humans are talking about aliens, they're talking about like little green men. Crypto is indignant because he's gray, because he's based off the Gray. Probably, the most iconic visage of aliens in terms of cryptozoology. Except like he's got red eyes instead of black eyes, and he's got more of a villainous sneer than what's quote unquote real Greys are portrayed with.
Yeah, they usually don't like emote much.
No.
Yeah, kind of stoic.
Yeah, they're very blank faced.
Yeah.
Crypto is definitely an alien that wears his emotions on his sleeve. And not just in terms of his like facials. He's a very surly alien. Very smartassy. Now the part of the game that isn't from modern times is actually all the voice work. Probably the music as well. Not exactly sure if they redid the music. By the way, the music is also in the style of the 1950s, and I believe this came up last week. But heavy use of the theremin because because that really spooky sound, that old timey sci-fi and such. That's a theremin. Like the title track is pretty much all theremin. I'm being honest, but Anyway, so the plot of Destroy All Humans is likewise something you would have seen in a 50s B movie, and not just say something like them or The Day the Earth Stood Still, but like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman or Mars Needs Women. You know, especially something like that, because so the plot is that the crypto has to abduct alien have to he has to abduct human because their DNA contains a bit of Furion DNA, because they're all clones and their DNA is getting stale, clone of a clone of a clone kind of deal. This is the very basic framework of the story.
So why do they need to be destroyed then?
Because they're in the way. Because the Furions are assholes.
Checks out.
I mean, for fuck's sakes, your overlord is Invader Zim.
Like literally, or just like?
Voice actor. It's his fucking voice. Like, I'm trying to remember his name. Like, but it's fucking Invader Zim. In fact, it's kind of hard. It's one of those things that takes me out of the game because I'm like, all I can hear is, I have a mighty need. I'm not saying it's quite off brand, but Invader Zim was definitely a very different alien invasion story.
For starters, he was not very useful at it.
No. Crypto here is definitely more successful at alien invasion. Like, and as far as what you do, some of it is pretty typical third-person shooter, open world dealies, although kind of centered around alien technology. You've got like the Kilo Zap gun. I think that's what it's called. It's your starting weapon. That's what you use to turn humans crispy. But you also have like what they call psychokinesis, which is basically telekinesis. Bog standard telekinesis. You can make things move with your mind. Like, I mean, you'll start out by flinging cows. Fun stuff. And you'll get other weapons as the game progresses, including Shotgun Chuck's the anal probe. Like, because once again, this is like from all aspects of UFO. The anal probing is another thing that comes from more modern interpolations of alien invasions and such. You certainly you wouldn't be getting something that crude in 1950s, mainstream culture.
I think some woman would just fucking die collecting her pearls if she tried that in the 50s.
Yeah, it definitely followed the whatever the movie code was.
Yeah. Like here in 2020, kind of comes across as, well, early 2000s obnoxious edgelord humor.
Yep.
Like quite a bit of this, quite a bit of the, and it's the Zap-O-Matic. I'm thinking like the Killer Zap is from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But yeah, the anal probe is a powerful rod that goes right into the victim's rectum and uproots a DNA-enriched brain. Like I said, this probably seemed funnier in 2005. Like, now I'm probably too old for this. And I'm like, okay. Either one's fine by me.
Why not both?
And yeah, let's go with that. And, other weapons are the disintegrator ray, which, disintegrates people.
When I say this gun disintegrates, I mean it disintegrates.
And the ion detonator, which is a grenade launcher. Now, I think the most interesting gameplay thing this game does is it's got a lot of stealth in it. You probably wouldn't have expected it, given that it's very even though its level structure is a bit different, it's still very much in the vein of PlayStation 2 era Grand Theft Auto games. But if you're on mission, there's a lot of on mission stuff that you can't just Zap-O-Matic your way through. There's a lot of mission objectives that you have to infiltrate. Obviously we're going with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, pod people, what have you. Except, you're one of the pods. Hell, you're the pod, if I'm being honest. But yeah, you got a thing called the Holobob, in which you can scan a human and, take their visage while their real body is stored away some way, somehow. You can even do this in, if you, if people come across the body, they won't react to it or anything. I'm not exactly sure what they're done with it, but something's been done with it where humans don't see it. But yeah, and you have to keep your disguise up by scanning people's brains, which is honestly kind of obnoxious because you have to scan constantly. And in order to make sure your disguise takes hold, you've got things like the forgetfulness ray, the hypno ray, and I forget the other thing. But stuff like if you're discovered or if you need to body swap an important person and he's guarded by a lot of people, you have powers that will aid you. And I'm of two minds of this. On the one hand, like I said, I can't really think of too many open world games that do the stealth thing. I mean, clearly there are, chief among them Assassin's Creed, but especially something from 2005 that was doing this. Although this probably seemed a lot fresher in 2005. But on the other hand, stealth isn't really why I would play a game like this. The stealth is a lot less fun than the, killing people outright portion of the game. And finally, the last gameplay style is, of course, your flying saucer. At times you will get into the flying saucer and you will wreak havoc on a place in order to fulfill another objective, like making sure nobody leaves the area alive. And you've got various other saucer weapons. And indeed, in terms of upgrades, you've got your on foot upgrades and you got your saucer upgrades. Bit odd because you're in the saucer a lot less than you are on foot. I mean, certainly you can get in the saucer, the free play modes, but it's less interesting to do.
Mm-hmm.
Also, honestly, I think the saucer sections were my least favorite part of the game, and that's mainly how the saucer controlled. Boy, was that thing slidey. To the point where, trying to center myself, especially if I was dealing with a human target, was annoying. And
the hovercraft vehicle is terrible. It has no traction.
Yes. It's and there's two ways you can fire your beam. It's forward and straight down. Probably going to be using the straight down for precision more. Now, in terms of how effective it is as a parody, on the one hand, I can't really say because I didn't live through the 1950s. So, how much it's nailing the actual culture of that era. But in terms of the culture that has survived, it seems to be pretty spot on. Once again, it's not just, picturesque fences, but, communist paranoia and a lot of, poking at the nuclear family, the sexual repression, what have you, anything you can think of, like the 1950s. It's like, Mr. Ed's mentioned, although that's a bit odd because that's not, that's actually an anachronism. Mr. Ed comes from the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
Also worth noting that this game does, in typical THQ Nordic fashion these days, does restore a bit of lost content. That is Area 42. Once again, basing off of Area 51. This game was not shy about drawing from, all eras of alienology, alien UFOlogy. And it's probably better for it. Now, in terms of the humor, like I said, I think the satirical elements have held up the best because, that's not stuff that could really get dated any more than it. It's like it's mocking the 1950s. This from about 50 years out of time. It's not like that's something that could really age all that much more given another 15 years. Like I said, the things that have aged more is more the more obvious attempts at humor. Let's see. In terms of pricing, so this game clocks in at $30, $29.99. I'm not going over THQ Nordic's absurd collector's editions. They exist, yes.
What do they put in them?
Okay, like I guess I'll have to
Sorry,
look it up.
If you don't want to, it's okay. Is it like it's like a physical collector's edition with a lot of shit in it, or is it like?
Oh yeah, like expensive to boot. I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be like it's a $400 collector's edition. Yeah, this is kind of why I'm not factoring it into the pricing. Yeah, it's the Destroy All Humans Crypto 137 edition, which contains a real-life backpack of the game's protagonist Crypto, a 60-centimeter statue of Crypto, a keychain, 6 lithographs, an eye-popping anti-stress squeeze toy, a large premium box, and in-game skins for Crypto. The bundle is priced at a staggering $400. Like,
so, if you are a big enough fan of the game that you want this, you already have it.
Yeah, there is a cheaper collector's edition. That is the DNA collector's edition, which retails at $150. This includes.
I imagine it doesn't have the backpack.
No, that is not here. It's got a 23-centimeter Crypt and Cow figurine, a keychain, 6 lithographs, eye-popping stress toy, a different premium box, the in-game Crypto skins, and of course the playable game, which puts them up above Ubisoft at the very least. No, seriously, why the fuck would you buy a collector's edition without, the edition? Yeah, so that's for you really, really have a lot of money lying around, people. But, in terms of sane purchases, $30 is, I'll be honest, surprising. Like, I would have expected this game to go for like $40. Because I think that's how much the SpongeBob remake went for. And that's how much the recently released Kingdoms of Amalur remake went for. I think that might actually be 45. Point is, like, that's below what I was expecting, especially given that this game had a lot more reworking than a lot of other THQ Nordic titles. Or at least obvious reworking. Reworking a game actually takes a lot more than what looks like. But this game, you can really see that this game it has new assets, it has modern physics, it has modern lighting, all that stuff. Also worth noting, this game does have a skin pack for $9.99. It's got the Pulp Crypto King, the King, Dollar Smart, the Killing Joke, and BFG 137 skins. No, this is not worth $10.
I mean, unless you're really super into that.
Right, but I'm just saying on its own, no, it's not really worth. And you can unlock other skins in the game. It's like your progression system is based off of how much DNA you get, which is done by unlocking missions, both side and main. And in terms of also, you can also find Furion scouting probes throughout the levels, and you can harvest brains for a quick bit of DNA. And let me see. Overall, as a game, I think this is about the finest THQ Nordic remake or remaster we've seen to date. Now, I'm really impressed with the work that Black Forest Games has put into this. And it plays nice and all that. Though the thing is, I probably enjoyed this. No, I enjoyed this less than the SpongeBob and Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy remasters that we reviewed. That has more to do with the gameplay styles.
Yeah, this is a game that just isn't going to appeal to everybody. Some people don't get their jollies from, destroying all humans.
Right. But that's more, I didn't like the level-based progression. It's like, if I want to play an open world game, I want an open world game. Like,
I would like my open world game worlds to be open, please.
Yes. This is faux open world or quasi open world or semi open world, however you want to define that.
I like open world.
Something like
yeah.
Because I do actually enjoy open world games. Like, I enjoyed the PlayStation 2 era Grand Theft Auto games. I enjoyed Saints Row the Third, for example. This is not those games. Like, but it's like, if you're down with PlayStation 2 era level design, then it's worth a purchase. In terms of its pure gameplay, it's adequate. I really wouldn't say it goes anything too beyond that. Although the jetpack is nice. And yeah, overall, I'd say it's a 7.5 out of 10 on the arbitrary scale of arbitration. Really solid stuff. And if it's your cup of tea, I'd say give a purchase now. And yeah, that'll about do it for Destroy All Humans 2020. And indeed, that'll about do it for the review session. So coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, September 16th, we'll be having Jim McCann of, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this, Chahow? TCHOW. I'm not even sure if this is an acronym or an initialism.
It would be Chow, but yeah, I don't know.
Might ask him when he appears on Wednesday. So at least it's not a name, a name that I have to worry about. But hang on, I hate it when I lose the window for the thing I need to look up. It's a consequence of having too many windows. But yeah, we'll be talking about the Cube Decks of Brass and Wood. Now, ain't that a name? Once again, it's kind of a literal name because you're dealing with a cube decks, I suppose. It's like really so. Reminds me of The Room. It's like a Chinese puzzle box thing. Also, we all got codes for this, so make sure you have that redeemed by Wednesday. The cube decks of brass and wood contain 6 puzzling machines. Yeah, so it's basically a Chinese puzzle box game, made out of brass and wood. And let's see, we do have a Friday show. On Friday, we'll be having September 18th. We'll be having Peter Petroff of Colorblind FX.
Man, if any of the games use both red and green, I'm gonna be super mad. No, I'm kidding.
I think that might be Colorblind FX. I know that's the game they're working on, which is a Metroidvania puzzler done in a 3D style. It's fairly early in development. They had a demo available not too long ago. Not sure if we'll get access to that. We'll see. But that's the week ahead. So until Wednesday, almost forgot. On Wednesday at 4:00, we will be doing a live reaction broadcast to the PlayStation 5 event that is occurring there. So be sure to tune in for that as well. So until Wednesday, I shall wish you good gaming.